Okay. I was just going to point out, too, the Exchange Hotel, the one that's up here. I think, Dawn, you painted the gentleman into that picture, and we kind of we thought of it as Comfort Tyler, even though Comfort Tyler had passed on by the time the era of that picture. It was kind of symbolic of his vision for what he's seen, the canal, the possibilities. He was so involved in the transportation of this area. So that's Comfort dreaming of what was to come with the canal.
Yeah.
I'll move on a little bit and add a little bit to the story of the Exchange Hotel. It was built soon after the Erie Canal opened. By 1828, the Erie had become connected to the lateral Cuyahoga-Seneca Canal. It became a hotel famous for canal officials, and it was said that Governor DeWitt Clinton stayed there while he was coming through after the canal had been completed in 1825. The hotel had a lined barn where mules and horses were unloaded to rest for the next haul. Several political meetings, including a meeting for the Whig Party to appoint delegates to the county convention and one delegate to the congressional convention. In 1871, Garrett Forshee from Conquest purchased the hotel. And during this time, grand balls, masquerade parties, and dances were regularly advertised in local newspapers. Town board meetings were held there and also town elections. Men stayed at the hotel while the new barge canal was being dredged. On March 31st, 1910, the first annual reception and dance was held at the hotel, given by the crew of the dredge called the Montezuma. The ballroom was decorated with American flags and 250 invitations were issued. It was probably one of the most successful and obviously largest social gatherings ever held in Montezuma. The hotel burned over 100 years ago in June 1918. It was owned at that time by Mrs. Fanny Gadsden, the loss estimated around $1,000, partially covered by insurance. And due to several other fires that took place during that time when the canal closed, it was under suspicion. So what we had envisioned with how we could display this mural, which was painted and put on a container, was to build a canal boat and have the murals and the container sit on top of what would be the deck of a canal boat. That's been our vision for some time. When we started planning the park in 2010, towards the end of that project, our committee was, we kind of set ourselves with a task of 3 projects that we would like to see completed to work on within the park. And so one of them was the Route 31 parking lot, which very gratefully was finished last year. We're still working on finishing up that grant with some amenities that are going to be added to the project. But that opens up the park to the Empire State Canalway. We're seeing bikers. I don't know if you're driving on Route 31, but I'm seeing bikers on bicycles on the Route 31 every day now, even more so I think this year than before. So the canal trail is really becoming popular. We're glad to have that parking lot there for them to stop and see what we have to offer in Montezuma. The other project was we have the remains of a paper mill where the flag, the cattails were used to make a cardboard-like paper. We have the remains of that paper mill in the park. And so we worked with a scouting troop to create a trail around that, walking trail. That's been completed. Our last project was to just enhance the entrance to the park to create this image of what was originally built in Montezuma, the Montezuma one of the first canal boats built by Comfort Tyler. So that's where that's going. We've broken ground. It started. We're really happy that we're finally on the road here or on the river to get this project. It's not going to float in the water. It's going to be stationary.
I think
There
it
may
should.
be some other uses for the container itself, an interpretation that we could open it up to, or concession stand, or some other kind of opportunity that might come along in the future. Are there any questions about that, about the site in Montezuma where the Exchange Hotel was?
You're gonna go on about the mural, the aqueduct mural?
Pardon?
You're gonna go on about the aqueduct mural?
I am.
All right.
Are you ready? Or do
I
you
am
have-
ready.
Do you
Yeah,
have
we're
something
ready.
to
We're
either
ready.
one of you to offer? Okay. As I said, I had always dreamed. I thought one of the most important sites in Montezuma was the Richmond Aqueduct, the highlight of the second largest aqueduct on the Erie Canal. And excuse me. I became involved with a planning committee in 2015, 2016 on a global mural conference to be held in Fairport. And it was during that time that the Richmond mural began to resurface in my mind again. During the week-long conference, muralists would be painting murals while open to visitors. Again, I called on Dawn. This time, I wanted the Richmond Aqueduct to become our next mural. The Montezuma Historical Society sponsored the mural, and Dawn graciously accepted the challenge of painting it in a week while on public display. Using a historic photograph, she began to design her concept of the mural as it was built in 1849 to what remains today of the 7 arches. The Richmond Aqueduct, Then and Now, and Dawn were awarded Viewer's Choice Award for that mural at the gala event of the mural conference. The following year, the mural was displayed at the State Museum in Albany. The installation was supported by a matching grant received from the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor and the Cayuga Community Health Network. So, Dawn, going to take a little breather here.
Okay.
What can you offer us about what that experience was like in Rochester, painting a mural in a week and having people watch you as you were?
Oh, it was great. We were painting on a new product called Avalon, which was given to us to paint on, which is a thin material. So I guess that was the hardest part. Was we had put a lot of primer on it. My idea for the mural, which I knew it was going to be hard because of the 31 arches, and even though there's a lot of pictures of it, I wanted it a certain view that I hadn't seen, and most of the pictures were either drawings or it was just at an angle it wasn't going to work. So I took my kayak out there many times. I've got hundreds of pictures back in my files of being on the kayak of the embankment and then trying to figure out how to fit those other arches in there. So that was the hardest part. I mean, I went back and forth, and I still look at it today and cringe and see, oh, that one's a little crooked, that one's a little too wide.
Only you, Dawn.
And then to do it, you know, it wasn't freehand, but it was freehand, but I can't explain. Even that working on a grid with angles is not, you know, it was difficult, let's say. But I still enjoyed it. And of course, my concept was instead of making it look like it would have looked back then, I wanted to show the part that was gone in black and white. And then, and then I wanted, so it wouldn't just be black and white and then color. I wanted to have the present day mixed in there. So that's why I had the guy on the boat, which is modern days, put in there just to balance the color. And so I met up with, I can't remember the gentleman's name now, but
Helmer, which,
yeah,
pardon?
Rick Helmer.
Rick.
Yeah, so I went with him and took pictures of him on his boat. So, but he actually, I think I took off about 20 pounds or so. I don't know if he would recognize himself, but anyways. But so it was a very positive experience, painting in Fairport and meeting the other artists. That was just pure joy. So
Yeah.
I was just grateful. to be
Wasn't there another experience of you were just kind of frustrated that you weren't getting the backside of your model just exactly the way you want it to be? And didn't you ask one of the other muralists to give you a pose so you could just get...
That's right. I forgot about that.
I didn't. It was so funny.
Isn't that something? I mean, there's probably a lot I've forgotten,
Yeah.
but thank you for reminding me that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I think I took, because I like, if you're drawing, you can't really draw from your memory everything. So if I have a model, which is, why I've used pictures of people in my family, what I would say, can you just stand and hold a stick like this? Which I've done many times for like the Lions mural. I needed men out with sticks, and so. But yes, I did. I took pictures. I vaguely remember that. Thank you, Cheryl.
Are there any questions for Dawn about the experience she had with the Richmond? Okay. I'll move on and just briefly give you a little history lesson on the Richmond Aqueduct. It was designed by Van Rensselaer Richmond, a skilled and talented American civil engineer and politician from Lyons, New York. The aqueduct resulted in alleviating the hazards and expense of crossing during the Seneca River. And as you can see, these three paintings are here were of the original crossing. And it's because of those sites that the Richmond Aqueduct was created when they enlarged the Erie Canal and straightened it out. We have the fourth one that you'll see out in the hall, which was recently finished by Len Tentillo and unveiled a couple of weeks ago at the Samuel Center. So we have, like Mike said, these just thankful for these images that can give us an idea. If you're ever in the park and you go just north along the river from the Richmond Aqueduct, you're going to see the pilings of these towpath bridges still remaining in the water. And it's just such a eerie, excuse the pun, but feeling to stand there and think those images compared to what you're seeing today with just the pilings left. So there were 110,000 linear feet of wood pilings that were driven into the soft ground, and it was supported by 31 arches. It was 11 feet high, 22 feet wide, and it was completed in 1856. It cost $216,563. Small change compared to what it would have been today. Without the machinery, of course, that we have today to build something like that. It became necessary to dismantle it in 1917 to make way for the new barge canal through the Seneca River. So that's all that I have. Any other questions that you can think of? Hi.
Do you know what wood they used for the pilings? Is that on record somewhere?
What's the question, Mike? Did you-
Wood they used in the pylons, probably hemlock or oak. It's underwater, so it never really rots. So it's
Yeah, you can still see them there.
Yeah,
Mike's the expert. He taught me everything.
we
I
can
know.
tell you though. It's in the records. Yeah, I do have a question though about like your mural down in Weedsport. Right? You did the one on the side of the Historic Society, and that was commissioned by a family, right? Who she wanted her family in the.
Yes.
And are there any challenges when you're working with people who are actually, like I think about Len's painting of Martin heading west, and I mean here you have people who ancestors
Right.
are being represented. Can you talk about a little bit about how you treat that? Is there a way you kind of?
Well, I got pictures from the benefactor, I'll think of her name.
Jean